It's truly an honor to introduce two great Michiganders. I call them our titans of the community. We have both dedicated significant time and resources to making Michigan a better place for all of our friends and families. I first met Dick DeVos 25 years ago when we bought the former Michigan National Tower, him and his beautiful bride, Betsy, and it was quite an experience. Still to this day, I remember it. I came to know Dick as an individual committed to providing opportunities, especially quality education for our children, and particularly for those families who didn't have educational opportunities. His family has made a big impact across the USA on education and what it entails. Dick's background includes being CEO of Amway and leading its international expansion. Also being the founder of aviation charter schools in Grand Rapids and now running WinQuest, a company that owns and operates and invests in many different industries. He's a huge, huge cheerleader of Michigan and works tirelessly to get results and knows he is not shy about voicing his concerns when moving Michigan forward. Just ask him, he will tell you. Dick has a lifetime of lessons for us, and one thing I always respect about him is his incredible positive attitude. His approach to life is breathtaking. Just think if we all lived life in that direction. And then there's my brother from another mother, Bobby Schostak, my mentor, my everything. Not only is he a close friend of me, my wife, and my family, but he is truly that mentor and advisor to me. I lean heavily on him regarding family business advice and how to navigate in the many issues that come up when dealing with family businesses, knowing it because he is a fourth generation organization. He's a great mind and provides so much clarity to me over the years. I've been known to be a little cloudy in some of my thoughts. Bobby's a business leader and a political influencer. He's one of the top Republican fundraisers that we've ever seen. His family business is well known through Michigan. He and his brothers have taken the development projects big and small all across the state. They're diversified from the real estate 35 years ago and own and operate the largest privately held restaurant company in Michigan with 5 national brands. Bobby is Peter Carmonis' partner and CEO of Mad Dog Technology, a venture capital fund. You are about to hear an incredible conversation with two of Michigan's top business leaders, and I couldn't be more honored to introduce them today. Everybody put their hands together for Bobby Schostak and Dick DeVos.
Ron, you were too nice. That was very kind. Thank you. Thanks to you, and thanks to Derek, and thank you all for the time, the opportunity to be back in Southeast Michigan. Grateful for the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Welcome to Southeast Michigan, Dick. It's nice to have the DeVos family represented in Southeast Michigan. So we've had a near 50-year relationship, our families, from competitive sailing on the Great Lakes and elsewhere, political alignment and partnerships, including my years as finance chair and party chair of the Michigan Republican Party, where you, Betsy, provided tremendous friendship and support. And it's been an honor for me to be a friend of the family and to see all that you have done for our state and our country. Today, we're here to ask you to share your perspective on how the Grand Action model works and how our audience might learn from it. As I understand it, Grand Action is an outgrowth of the Grand Vision Committee. Perhaps you can begin with sharing with us downtown Grand Rapids what it was like back when a group of leaders came together in 1991 and what evolved from there.
Well, Bobby, thank you. Thanks, Bobby, for being here. We do go back a long way, and we used to race against each other, and our families competitively raced against each other, and I might have cursed you once or twice, but always out of respect. Always out of respect, because they tended to beat us. That was what happened. The reality was they beat us. I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we tried to do in Grand Rapids in the hopes that we continue to learn from each other. And we learn from each other nationally, and hopefully we learn from each other in Michigan. And no one situation is directly applicable. So, sort of like I consider, when I go to church, I consider if I can come out of the sermon with at least one or two good ideas, that's probably about as many as I can hope for. I've been to a lot of sermons where I got zero, by the way, too, so I get that. But hopefully there's, maybe there's an idea or two of what we've done that would be an encouragement in some way to you and in your work across the Southeast Michigan community. And I know that, many distinguished leaders here who are deeply embedded in the community and want to make this a great place to live, to work, and to raise a family. And what you do is the industry you're involved with is critically important to making that all happen. We had an issue in Grand Rapids back in the early 90s that I think Southeast Michigan's familiar with, and that was we had real issues with the downtown, and we were about to lose our core city if we weren't careful. And what a guy announced that he was going to build a baseball facility. He wanted to build a baseball and entertainment facility outside of the downtown area of Grand Rapids and take some convention and other activities out of the core city. I got nervous about that. I thought this could be the ultimate, the final nail in the coffin for our downtown area. And so I made a few calls and to pull together what was called a Grand Vision Committee. And it really it started us down a pathway toward having a private-public partnership. And in Grand Rapids, one of the things that we started to figure out, and this is my encouragement to all of you as leaders in the community, is that the private sector needs to step up and lead. Government has an important role to play. And I don't know if the mayor's here. I know the mayor is going to be here. If the mayor's here, the public sector leadership and what the mayor has been doing in this community is critically important, and I get that. But that should not diminish, and I think, in fact, is very much enhanced by private sector leadership. So this Grand Vision Committee was a group of the private sector business community coming together and saying we need to respond to this, and what are we going to do to build up our downtown? So we stepped back. We did what you do in business, right? You step back, you try to identify what the problem is, you then go out and try to pull together some ideas of what the solutions are going to look like and what needs to be done and what resources are going to be required to make that happen. And then you go to work if there's a path forward, if it makes sense. So at that point, we concluded that we needed to enhance, we needed a downtown arena in our community. And it needed to be in the center of the city. We also needed then to expand our convention capability at the same time. And that was Grand Vision's response. We studied it, we raised some money, we had third-party corroboration, we went out to experts and architects and urban planners and designers to help us understand what would work, what wouldn't work, how does it all happen, how do you deal with all of the myriad of issues when you do things in the downtown area. And as a consequence, we came forward with a plan and flipped that plan over from Grand Vision to Grand Action. And that also was privately led. We, as a private sector group, Grand Action, myself was a co-chair at that time, a guy named David Fry, whom some of you may know, and a guy named John Canepa, two bankers who are terrific gentlemen in our community who are no longer with us any longer. I was sort of the junior partner of the group. Which is kind of weird given my age lately to call me a junior partner. But we, the three of us, put together this effort called Grand Action and began to try to implement these ideas that Grand Vision came forward with. And so it ended up being about a $70 million, $80 million downtown arena, 12,000-seat arena. That made a difference. And we went back and did a couple $100 million project for a convention center expansion that, if some of you have been there, it's referred to as DeVos Place. I guess you probably know who the major donor was for that one. Van Andel Arena, pretty self-evident as well. One of the things that we did that was also, I think, important in the private sector leadership was private sector funding. And that before we went and sought public sector support, to support taxpayer support for these facilities, which are all publicly owned, by the way. This is not, so not to confuse public support or taxpayer support for private facilities. I'm not trying to get into that debate. Just to be clear, these were publicly owned and still are publicly owned facilities. So we put our money where our mouth was to some extent. We went out and raised money so that on average, between the 5 projects that Grand Action did in Grand Rapids, those 2 being the two largest, was about an average of 30% of the cost of the projects was actually philanthropically raised, was private dollars contributed to the effort. Sometimes those came with naming rights, they were, and recently, I'll speak about that in a moment. We've used naming rights as a fundraising vehicle, but about 30% of what we did was private dollars. And then after we had the private dollars helped us to do the initial development, the design, and all of the other work that needs to be done. Then we had a coherent package we could bring to the taxpayers that was going to happen. And we could say, look, we've got this money. If the taxpayers can put this money with it, here's the design, here's the cost, here's what it's going to be, so it's going to be a go project. So it wasn't sort of a black box operation where, well, give us a bunch of money and it's good luck. So that's how the Grand Action thing happened, and it truly those 2 major projects and then a couple 3 other ones really did transform the Center City Grand Rapids.
Thank you. I know that when we've talked in the past, the importance that you have emphasized for the philanthropic community, both the institutional as well as individual, it is to be involved in the rebirth of these communities. Perhaps you want to share some of those outcomes.
Yeah, I think it's the philanthropic community being involved, but maybe I would refer to it as I tried to, as it being private sector involved, and it's not just writing checks. The Grand Action were people rolling up their sleeves and really getting into the mix of doing what business people do, which is make things happen. Sometimes I used to joke that one of our jobs occasionally was to put on a striped shirt and be the referee between the county and the city. I don't know if you have any experience in this area, but occasionally our county and our city governments don't necessarily see eye to eye. I know that's maybe a novel idea. Maybe it only happens in my town, but I've heard it happening in other places once or twice. We'd have to put on the striped shirt and be the umpires and say, the referees, and say, okay, guys, let's figure this out. We're going to play together. But by the way, we are going to make a deal. And if you have enough horsepower on the private side to get people's attention, you can bring people together and make a deal and make things happen in the community for the benefit of the community. And so it was not just dollars, because philanthropy was a critical importance for sure, but it was also very, very much the individual sweat equity that private sector folks put in to making these projects work.
So as we move forward in the evolution of Grand Rapids, there was the convention center and the hotels, and then there was another generation of activity that took place, probably a good decade later. Maybe you want to share a little bit of how this became a positive contagion.
Yeah, well, what happened, as you know, is you do a few major sort of cornerstone things, and you start to build momentum. And momentum's a tenuous thing. Momentum's a very tenuous thing. I think we all know that in sports, but I think it's really true in life. It's true in economics. It's true in progress. When you have positive momentum, it's remarkable how many good things can start to happen around projects like this, and people starting to believe and starting to be willing to invest and take risks, and good things just start happening. And the converse, of course, is true, is that when you don't have momentum, there's 1,000 excuses not to do things. Not to do something is always the easiest answer. So these cornerstone projects started to build momentum, and so the result of that was other construction, other investment, millions and billions of dollars of additional investment came in as a consequence of this positive momentum, and Grand Rapids became what it is today from what it was, kind of a cow town in many respects. I mean, when we started, you could have. We used to say shot a cannon down Main Street and not risk hurting anybody at 5:01, at 5:01 in the afternoon, because there wasn't anybody there. That's very different today. And now we've got a couple of the projects on the board. We just broke ground for a new amphitheater, an outdoor amphitheater, 12,000-seat amphitheater that we're doing in the downtown area, so it's a little more complicated to do in the downtown area, right along the river. Working with the city and county, it's about a $185 million project. The other projects all totaled a little over $400 million. It's about a $185 million project to do the amphitheater. Local business, Acrisure, gave us a $30 million contribution on a naming rights deal. So that's made a big deal. We're raising on that one. Again, it's going to be around a third of it will be private sector, inclusive of the Acrisure gift. So we're anticipating raising about $70 million that we'll need to raise for that, again, philanthropically. The rest, we're looking toward public support for that. 12,000-seat facility, economic benefits from that. The second project that's right behind it is downtown soccer stadium. We're looking at a second-tier professional soccer team, just one tier below the MLS, and they like Grand Rapids, and we're not big enough for an MLS team, and so it's about a 9,000-seat facility for that for a soccer team that would bring a soccer franchise into the community as well. That's about a $175 million project as well, and both of those we think will be transformational because they're both now in downtown areas, but they're sort of on the edge of downtown, adjacent to some other communities where the peripheral development will really be positive as well. So we think there's nothing but good that can come from those two projects. So we reconstituted Grand Action. We're calling ourselves Grand Action 2.0. And instead of being the junior partner, I'm apparently the senior partner now. That's how it works.
You've grown up, finally.
Yeah, we both have a lot more gray hair than we used to, my friend.
Believe me, I know. So you look at this transformation, and it's public partnership, public-private partnership, philanthropic support, and it sounds like it's all been pretty easy. Just kind of rolled along,
just a piece of cake.
Right?
Walking like family business, everybody gets along, everybody loves each other. There's never any other issue. Anybody in a family business here? Yeah, you know that that's bullshit.
There's a lot of us here. Yeah. But knowing that it's not, I think there's probably some lessons learned, that you all have gone through, and folks that are involved here in both the city of Detroit and its downtown Birmingham, some of the other communities of Southeast Michigan. What kind of lessons, perhaps some mistakes that were made, things you would do differently that you could perhaps share with us?
Yeah, a couple of things. One would be transparency. We really tried to operate in a really transparent manner, but preserving our private status. So Grand Action's a private organization. We're not government. We're not subject to Open Meetings Acts. We're not subject to a number of the other things that public sector groups are, and that community groups and public groups have to deal with. That gave us, frankly, a certain freedom of action. We could plan quietly, and we could plan quietly without distraction and noise going on, so that we could come to conclusions. But we tried to, wherever we could, be transparent about where we were going, what we were doing, what our intentions were, etc. So I think if you can find ways to be able to not plan, to not do your thinking in a public environment, it's better. I personally, I respect the need for the Open Meetings Act in the state of Michigan, But I'm not convinced that the Open Meetings Act in the state of Michigan, in public bodies, always gives us the best result in terms of people being able to come together, have a conversation, share ideas openly, and get the sort of dynamism that you want to get in a meeting you have, like we do in a business meeting, where we can disagree and we can argue and we can express ourselves freely, and then come out with a conclusion. And to me, the process is not as important as the conclusion. What are we going to do? And then let's debate that, and not debate the process so much. So if you can find ways to plan quietly, collegially, plan with the private sector, very much a part of the effort, because if you can take politics out of the room, it's a really, really good thing. Now, I know there's a biblical passage, right, that says where two or more are gathered. I think we've all heard that. Two or more are gathered, we've heard God is present. I've modified that said when three or more are gathered, there's politics involved. And so, but that's just human nature. But if you can take some of the partisanship out and some of the politics out and have good, honest conversations, that's really, really critical. And for the private sector to dig in. And not be willing to step up and have a voice, and not step back and say, well, we don't understand this business, we're going to leave that to the public sector. The public sector in Grand Rapids was extremely grateful to have the private sector there. It gave them some political cover, if you will. It gave them some valuable allies and insights and support. And so step in would be my encouragement. Step in as private sector. This is your sweet spot. You know this world better than anybody. Step in on these issues wherever you can. And if the public sector folks don't want you in there, step in anyway. Pretty soon they will learn to value your presence.
That's great. I know Derek keeps us to a tight time frame, but I'm going to try to close with this and ask you to comment. Got a room filled with experienced real estate developers, brokers, property managers. Would you welcome them to Grand Rapids? And if so, which I know you would, what does downtown need? What does the community need that perhaps folks from here might be able to bring to the community?
I think with open arms. We have, for those of you in residential development, we are woefully deficient like we are in some other parts of Michigan, but because West Michigan is growing so rapidly, we need residential very much. We would welcome you there. We'd love to have all kinds of thoughtful development coming into our community. And we would prefer that they be for people from Michigan who understand us, and we'd rather have you guys, frankly, than folks from some other part of the country, because we understand the Midwest and we understand Michigan, so we would very much love to have you there. And I would also just segue that the other thing that I would ask you to do as business people is not just speak up and get involved in these sorts of projects, but we're at a very important point in Michigan, I believe. From a policy and a public policy standpoint. And I want to I'm not talking about partisanship, ultimately, though, that's how decisions get made, is partisanship, but we're at a very important point in policy making in Michigan, and I just would like to encourage you to look more deeply. I know politics is messy, and a lot of you try to say, I want to stay the heck away from it, and Bobby and I both have enough scars to prove that maybe we should have stayed away from it.
Too late for that.
Too late now. But it's important. What happens in the public policy arena in our state matters to your business today, but it matters more to your future. Public policy isn't about economy. I think those of us on the Republican side of the aisle talk a lot about economics, we talk about money, we talk about economic policy, investment. But the truth is, what we're really talking about is how do we create an environment where our families can live and grow and prosper, where my children and grandchildren can choose to stay in Michigan and not have to go somewhere else to build a career or build a business. So we want these things to happen, and a policy framework we need a policy framework that is going to attract opportunity to Michigan and not detract, not push it away. I'm concerned that now we're flirting with some ideas in our state that are going to depress opportunity and depress growth and potential on a state policy level in particular, in some cases local. Please dig in and bring your expertise there. Please dig in and bring your perspectives into the process. And please be attentive because we are, I think, at an important time in Michigan, important for your business, but maybe more important, at least for me, for my heart, not just my head. For me, it's more important about our families. Betsy and I have 13 grandchildren. You're supposed to say at this point, you look too young to have 13 grandchildren. We started young, apparently. We have 13 grandchildren. I care deeply about them. I know you care deeply about your children and their potential. And I think we all care deeply about this state. We're invested in the dirt of this state. Please be attentive. Please speak into it, into these issues that are coming up, so that we put Michigan on a growth trajectory, and that we put Michigan back on the map on the upside and not the downside. So I encourage you to dig in on these policy issues as well.
Well said. You know, you're second generation, your kids are third, you're talking about your fourth. I'm here with my brother David, my son Jeff. He's fourth generation, and we're propelling, hopefully, the family into beyond that. And I know you care, as you just expressed, so deeply about the well-being of the state. Give us some final perspective, optimistic about our future. Where will we be as you look ahead?
I'm a big fan of Michigan, and I continue to be. We've got extraordinary people and opportunity. It's a beautiful state. It's so beautiful that I've gotten to the point where if I meet people outside of Michigan and they're not very nice, I don't even talk about Michigan because I don't even want them to visit. But if there's nice people around, I tell them about Michigan, and they just can't believe what we have going in this state. And when friends of ours come and visit us, they're stunned by what the state has to offer. So we've got this enormous natural benefit. We have extraordinary people here in this state. I mean, we are the heart of America, the Midwest. I keep saying, if for our friends from outside the U.S., make sure you visit the heart of America. We're the heart of America. We have character. People are willing to go to work and roll up their sleeves. So there's a culture here in this state that's fantastic. So let's just not screw it up. There's good ideas that are going to take us forward. And then back to my public policy comment. There are bad ideas that are bad ideas. And sometimes very good people have very bad ideas. It's okay. Bad people sometimes have good ideas too, by the way. There's a converse to that. But we need to be focused on good ideas that are going to move our state forward, that are going to create the kind of opportunity that we need, that are going to encourage the kind of investment and risk-taking that are necessary to grow a community and to grow a state, as opposed to just simply try to figure out how we're just going to kind of keep it all together. And if we do have some problems in Michigan. We've got tremendous geography. We've got some issues. January is an issue. So is February. February's kind of an issue too. Late December sucks. So we've got some issues. We're not on the way to anywhere in this state. We're not sort of on the crossroads of anywhere as a peninsula. We've got to be smarter. We've got to be tougher. And we've got to be more creative. And we've got to not shoot ourselves in the foot with bad ideas. So we do that, sky's the limit. But if we're not attentive to it, somebody else is going to eat our lunch. And I, for one, am doing everything I can to not let that happen.
Thank you, Dick. Appreciate everybody.
Thank you.